Hello and welcome back to Mac at the Movies. Today I got a movie review for you. It's one of my personal favorite films, and it's a silly, goofy movie, and I guess in all intents and purpose, in the grander scheme of cinema, this shouldn't be in anyone's necessarily like favorite films, but I'm a very unique person in my own right, so it's in there. I think one of the reasons I like this film a lot is because I had worked the better part of a decade in various grocery stores, going through college, things like that. And so it's got like a little special place in the heart for that, even though this is in regards to like a big box store versus a grocery store, but it still has like that same feel, that same vibe in a way. And when I worked at a movie theater, I was a projectionist at one point in time, and one of the first movies I learned to thread film on was this very film, and that is the 2006 Lionsgate comedy Employee of the Month. It was directed by Greg Coolidge, who hasn't really done a whole lot in the realm of directing. He did some writing for films like Sorority Boys, which also stars Harlan Williams. But he's done more writing and things like that than strictly directing. But this film stars Dane Cook as Zach, Jessica Simpson as Amy, Dax Shepard as Vince, Efren Ramirez as Jorge, Brian George as Iqbal, Andy Dick as Lon, and Harlan Williams as Russell. So this film takes place in, like I said, a big box store, Super Club. So Vince is winning number 17 Employee of the Month, 17 months in a row. And it's, big news. They're trying to go for number 18. And if he breaks that number 18, he'll be the first person to get Employee of the Month 18 months in a row. And it's a new record. And they're really excited. And it's happening at that particular location. So there's going to be a big event where whoever wins Employee of the Month that month will take home a brand newish 2005 Chevy Malibu. And I kind of I like that because this was 2006, so it was probably a slightly used car at that time, but it's a big to do. Vince broke the scan speed record, and they're just looking to get new records added to that store. Amy joins the team, and everyone. A couple of the people, Vince and Zach, they end up just infatuated with the new girl. And, everyone's trying to get their step in and see what they can find out. Vince, he is the number one check stand, which I guess in this world, first check stand means everything. So, me having worked in a grocery store, you literally just get assigned whatever register you're going to work, and it doesn't really matter. But he tries to go after Amy, uses that, big Employee of the Month thing. And Zach later finds out with his friends Lon and Russell, that, was it Lon, Russell, and Iqbal, that Amy has kind of a thing for the Employee of the Month. So he thinks his chances are so much better if he goes after the Employee of the Month. So Zach gets in his head that he is going to go after said role. And that's when things kind of start to pick up. You start to see that no one really sees Zach as a serious character. He's just kind of there coasting along, and you find out later that that's more or less what he's doing. He lives with his grandmother, and doing so, it's kind of a, it's not so much he lives with his grandmother, but his grandmother lives with him. he started a like a .com startup that tanked, and his grandmother put in all the seed money, and he lost it all. So she didn't have a place to live, and he offered to take her in, rightfully so. So, you find that out along the way. Try not to give any spoilers. Not that this film really, gives a whole lot to spoil. But they're after that race. Amy and Zach from the beginning have this very serendipitous relationship where they finish each other's sentences. They have that silly kind of humor together, and Vince kind of sees that and he tries to zone in on it. He tries to get one over on Zach, and takes Amy out on dates. He thinks that because he's cashier number one, he's the big kahuna, and he's able to get and do whatever he wants. And some scenes in this movie kind of show that, and it's a little weird. I don't think I have ever known anyone to work at a check stand that really garnished as much acclaim as this does for him. I really do like Efren Ramiro's character, Jorge, in this film. Throughout the entire film, he has this sort of like deadpan like way about him. And I've noticed that like kind of like in Napoleon Dynamite, he plays Pedro, if you'd know him from that. And he just has this sort of deadpan reaction to everything. Even if he's excited, like the most you get is his like eyebrows kind of raise up a little bit, and he's like genuinely interested. Or if there's like a moment where he's dancing in this one scene, it's it's just this little funny, like everything's deadpan with him. But he's always there with Vince. Like he's Vince's like he looks up to Vince like an idol. He wants to buy Vince's old crappy Honda. It's an 81 Honda. He wants to buy that from him, and Vince is going to charge him like 10 grand to buy out the Honda. Once he gets the new Chevy Malibu, he's like, man, this is a peach. You need to buy it, or I'll just sell it to somebody else for more money. And it's like, in 2006, no one's going to pay 10 grand for a crappy old 81 Honda. So I think that's funny that like it's like Jorge's interested because I think it has that like tie to Vince and the friendship and everything. It's kind of a one-way friendship more than anything. But it's great. But yeah, Vince ends up taking Amy on a date. Ends very weird to this like kiss countdown. Like I fully understand like asking permission for a kiss on a first date. With especially the way everything's going now, rightfully so. But the first date kiss, he had this weird countdown to this like very odd. I don't know what it was, but you just saw Jessica Simpson just looking very like, yep, gotta go. And, he brags about it to Zach later. Zach ends up inevitably taking Amy out on a date. A little while after that, he starts getting stars on the Employee of the Month board, and Amy, of course, starts showing interest. And with that, he gets a date, and frankly, I thought it was an amazing idea for a first date. I mean, I think most people would probably think it's just stupid, but he essentially takes her to the store that they work at. After hours, the store's closed, and he has like free reign over the store. Everyone has some sort of connection to him in the store. So like, I think Iqbal is there that night, kind of working late, stocking something, and so he lets him in. But they play putt-putt, and there's a scene where they knock a ball off the roof, and Vince and Jorge are out looking for them that night to, I guess, interrupt their date. But the golf ball comes through and hits Jorge through the window, and you see Vince gets all serious, like, this is an 81 Honda, how dare you? And just, it's hilarious. They do go-karts in the store. They have dinner at the food court. They watch a movie together. I think it was The Princess Bride. And the person, they have a bit of a connecting moment at the end of the date. And there's a person riding the floor cleaner throughout the store, and he sings like opera late at night. So he was kind of showing Amy that, and it was, I mean, it was a fantastic little date scene in the film. Later, you end up seeing there's a big to do. One of the cashiers dies, and they need somebody to replace the cashier. So Zach steps up, and he's like, "I'll do it," and it looks really great for management. Also, starting out in the film, when Zach's trying to go into this whole employee of the month thing, what I thought was interesting is a nice little thing that they did in the film was they made Zach like portray the character, or they made Dane Cook like portray Zach as someone who's never really worked with management, so he doesn't know how to communicate with management. So when he comes in, he's very green with how he just portrays himself to them. Like he comes in and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Glenn, manager man, I got I think it's Glenn Ross is the manager's name. He's like, I got my own time punch indicator. I'm just gonna clock in early." And they just kind of look at him like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I guess that's that is okay. But and then they just kind of walk on, and he just looks exhausted because he's never had to deal with anything like that before. He just kind of, like I said, coasts on his way. And then but he ends up taking on the role as a cashier. One of the managers, his older brother comes. The older brother's like the district manager, and he happens to be a little person. And so he's a bit of a jerk. Like he comes into the store and he critiques every little thing. Like the old man at the entrance greeting everyone should be older. He greets a customer as he's leaving the store, and he's like, check his receipt on the way out, all that kind of stuff. Having worked at a grocery store, it is irritating whenever corporate decides to make their way in, because you're trying to do your job, like your day-to-day job, and then you have these people that just come in unannounced or with very little announcement, and you end up spending all this time cleaning things that chances are they're never going to pay attention to. There's a scene where he has the white glove on, and he's like, "Get a rag and clean this," after he like wipes down the counter. And it's ridiculous. But I think it's funny, the chemistry between the brothers. And later there's a baseball game where the younger brother, who is taller, says like, "I'm not trying to be short with you." And the older brother's just like, "I'll tell mom." And I think it's kind of funny that you have that like brother-like chemistry, because I feel like if that were a thing, which I'm sure it is in some companies, that there is the brotherly thing of, "I'll still tell mom on you." So I think that's kind of funny. But after all this, you see Vince really kind of kicking it up in gear. He's trying to still chase after Amy. Amy doesn't really want anything to do with him other than, I be friends. And so he tries to force serendipitous behavior onto her. So he tries to finish her sentences, but does it very crass-like. He's trying to imitate Zach in ways where he'll have those, I don't know if anyone remembers back in like circa 2004, 2003, they had those, I think they were called Hillies, with the wheels in the shoe, and you could just walk along and then roll on your heels. And Zach has them in this, and you see Vince trying to do something with it, and he ends up getting the same thing that Amy gets for lunch, and it's just this train wreck of an attempt. But there's a scene, I really like where Vince falls down and you have Jorge who is just like there by his side. And he's just like, "You'll be okay, boss. You'll be okay. Don't cry. I'll cry for you." And I love that scene. That's one thing I always like to throw in just in day-to-day conversation. Like if someone's talking about, having a bad day or something like that, I'll just be like, it's okay, man. Just don't cry. I'll cry for you. And I like to throw that out there. And there are a couple of people I know that pick up on that reference, and I do appreciate that. So you end up having like all this stuff going down. There's like this constant like competition for both Amy and the Employee of the Month spot. And Vince and Jorge end up breaking into Zach's house while he's away. He took Amy out on a date, and while they were out doing their thing, Vince and Jorge end up breaking into the house to change the alarm clocks in the house, change the timer on the coffee, all the different things. And when they're in there, I thought this was hilarious, and I was mentioning it to a buddy of mine just before coming up here to record this. We'll go back and forth between movie lines and stuff, and we were talking about this film. And there's a scene where they're in the house and they're trying to sneak around and do something. You see a door open up with the light, and Zach's grandmother comes walking in through the room, and you see Vince and Jorge just standing up against the wall, and Jorge busts out a knife, and it's a switchblade. He flings it out, and you just see Vince like, "Put that away. What are you doing? I will not go to jail for you." He was like, "I thought you were Mexican, not Puerto Rican." And it turns into this silly little humor, like the stereotypes, and it's hilarious. And then you see the grandmother walk back with a thing of ice cream. She's just eating ice cream. And then was it the scene before, when they're getting ready to break into the house, they're putting pantyhose over their head, like the stereotypical burglar. And Vince goes, "Jorge, where did you get these pantyhose?" And he's like, "I got them from my mom's gym bag." And he's like, "Oh no!" And so he takes them off. It's disgusting but hilarious nonetheless. So after all that, Zach realizes that Vince had broken into the house to change the clocks. There was a bottle left behind of a drink that Vince likes to keep with him everywhere he goes. And so Zach ends up somehow getting Vince's car, his piece of crap Honda, as it's known in the film. He ends up putting it on a couple pallets up on the shelf. Some customer comes up and he has the tickets, piece of crap Honda, and he calls it over the intercom, and then he finds out that it's his car on the shelf, and he protests it, but they say, "Well, if the item's in the system, it has to be sold. I mean, unless you want this to go against your Employee of the Month, possibility of winning. Yeah, I mean, you'll get a customer complaint if you don't." And so there's a falling out with Jorge and Vince, and he's just like, I thought you were going to sell the car to me for $10,000, and he sold it to him for $9,980 cheaper. So it just a silly part in the movie, and there's that falling out, and then there's baseball game that everyone kind of goes to at the end of the film. It's a company league, a softball game actually, and Zach couldn't go. He couldn't be there because he promised Iqbal that he would watch his department, watch the shift, so he could go to his daughter's soccer game. And nobody was there. Nobody was shopping for anything. So Zach decided to just hightail it to the game. He shows up to the game. There's a big victory. Everything happens. But while he's at the game, during some news report about dirty electricity, everyone decides to go to the store to buy power strips. So Iqbal ends up getting fired, and there's falling out of friendships. In the process of trying to discuss all that, they're just like, you're just looking to hook up with that floozy Amy who's just willing to be with the employee of the month and didn't realize that Amy was right there when it was said. And there's that falling out, and it's just, you know, everyone is just falling away from everybody else. The the movie ends, Zach quits, and he ends up getting talked back into joining back, and he does the employee of the month, the scan off at the end of the movie. He comes in, they're like, but we thought you quit. And he's like, well, the paperwork wasn't fired, or well, it wasn't filed first. So he was able to compete. He didn't quit. And then Vince ended up winning. But you find out in the end that he was cheating the entire time. The entire year he's been giving away free groceries. While he's like scanning, he'll scan one thing here and throw something behind his back. And so he ends up getting in a lot of trouble, and he gets fired and has to get a job at a competing big box store down the road. But, you know, in the end, Zach and Amy get together, and there's a little funny joke at the end where Zach's just like, so you are into the employee of the month? And she's like, oh, we'll have to wait until next month to find that out, won't we? So just a little jab at that. But all in all, I love this film. It's one of my favorites. I give it a strong 4 stars. I love watching this, just putting it on anytime I get a chance. One of my buddies, Steve, that I work with, he's a big fan of the film because he worked at, I think, a Walmart or a Sam's Club, and, you know, he gets it. So it's a lot of funny little over-exaggerated things where, you know, people hand off like snapped in half Butterfingers as currency to other employees, or, you know, things like that, that just silly writings in the film that, you know, could happen. I mean, they don't, but I mean, it could. But, you know, it's just a great film all around. So, if you haven't checked it out, I don't think I spoiled too much, even though I gave just about everything away. But still a great movie to watch. It's not like you know, it's going to be a big mind-blowing head spinner of a twist at the end or anything like that. It's just a basic run-of-the-mill flick. But, again, give it a solid 4 stars out of 5. Check it out. If you've seen the movie and you like it, jot down some comments down below. Smash that thumbs up, like button. And if you like these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, let you know when I have new videos for you to watch. Also, check in the description below. I will put the trailer for this film down in the description, a link for that so you can go check it out, and a link to my Facebook so you can check that out. I post just random movies that I watch throughout the week, maybe a funny little clip or something like that that I find along the way. So definitely check that out, give that page a like, and as always, be good to one another. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time. Bye. Almost forgot this.